this is our video on why blend supporting learning and critical thinking. You see a lot of it going on right there in that picture. So here, how has blended helped my students learn better and think more critical? One thing is it allows you to make them more self-directed. And one specific way here is content critical thinking, where they analyze primary and secondary sources by their own means, is one of the things it does. Plus, it develops the critical thinking of thinking how to work. Of course, one example here is from this year and years past, students learning the 1920s content in a self-directed way with multimodal resources. Then they decide which topic for a radio show script to do, and then they write the script, and then they decide whether to record it, and if they're going to record it, how to add the 1920s sound to it. Also, the blending in your classroom can help your students learn and think better more critically. Well, scaffolding, designing the resources and the content in a way that gives them what they need. One of the ways to do this in a flexible way is with that multimodal approach, and you can see there the different elements of it, which allows them to use those resources in the way that best serves them, and then work individually or collaborate on one document. Now, the really interesting thing that I did hear a student say was she could see the information in her head, not see the words, but see the information in her head, following this scaffolded approach that met her needs. And here's more on differentiation. I'm not going to talk about this, just give it to you. You can pause the video and look at it. It gives you some more information on why differentiate instruction. But also, you can monitor student work documents and give immediate feedback. Posting comments, as you see there, on a student did a presentation, a propaganda poster on Japanese internment camps. Then you can also make it so that there's directing and affirming memes and pictures, post comments and send emails and students and or parents, and in-person communication. You can do all of those things. But it's interesting how you can, in the middle of an activity, send an email to a parent and the student and try to motivate more work. But you see, those memes are really fun to place in the documents to encourage them. And then there's this issue of being a drill and kill kind of teacher. I've always hated that. So I really liked it as blended learning developed. And again, one of the things that stepping away from being the sage on the stage you do is with self-regulation, which blended is like really good at supporting that. With the whole student self-regulation, student engagement, they will be more engaged as you help them, encourage and direct them in being engaged in the blended environment. That will indeed help. And one aspect of this is storytelling. For instance, Jackie Robinson, yeah, he was the first African-American to break the Major League color barrier in baseball, but do they know that he was a 761st Tank Battalion lieutenant in World War II? And did they know he was arrested for the same thing Rosa Parks did? Or tell a personal story if you're comfortable with that. Like my dad, that's a picture of the bomber he flew in World War II, and I've told them a billion stories based on that. Then there's a whole thing where you're engaging them with a lesson introduction, maybe telling some of those stories, mid-lesson check-ins, same kind of thing. Just asking questions, checking in, making sure they know that you're caring, you're paying attention. And then that whole issue of skill development, context clue awareness and use is just one part of it, but you can build different skills into a blended aspect because you have access to all of the content in different modes, images, videos, whatnot. Also, make them learn and think deeper. Now, you can teach about the Holocaust, just giving them stuff to read and maybe a few pictures to look at. Or you can give them the testimony of an actual survivor who was 12 years old when the Nazis invaded his town in Poland. And you can give them different video versions of that. Or you can go to the Yad Vashem in Israel's Holocaust Museum. But those are some really good content resources. They can meet the people. And also support and coach the students. Support them with face-to-face aspects that blended makes possible. Looking at screens, asking questions. The online aspects, like with the memes or whatever method that you can think of with your blended tools, or the online and face-to-face setting. For instance, she would not speak in front of other students, but she did use the private chat in an online classroom to ask me questions about the Woodstock Music and Arts Festival. Or you can use a Google shared document that you're working on with them. Just make sure they know you care. It's one of the ways that blended learning is really, really powerful. And then to summarize an example here, Black Elk speaks. Black Elk was a young Oglala Sioux person. He was at both the Battle of Little Bighorn and the Massacre at Wounded Knee. So you make a multimodal video for them, pictures, words that Black Elk himself said. You let them play it. Then you give them this scenario. They listen to the story, they become a newspaper person from back then. They write a report talking about what they learned from talking to Black Elk himself. So this is how blended learning can be used in your real learning and social studies.